is the subject that is being discussed there? You can look at your Bible. Last few verses. Yes. Okay. The beast and what else? The beast and the false prophet. What happened in Revelation chapter 19? What happened to the beast and the false prophet?
They were thrown alive in the lake of fire that burned with sulfur.
That's right. That's right. They were thrown into the lake of fire. What did the devil use to persecute God's people?
He used false prophet, didn't he?
Yeah, you're exactly right. He used the beast and the false prophet. What is happening to the beast and the false prophet? They are going away. They're going away. And if the beast and the false prophet goes away, what happens to the persecution? What's that? It goes away too. It goes away too. Now, as we get into Revelation chapter 20, well, the subject matter, of course, is three persons: the beast, the false prophet, and the dragon, which is the devil. Up until Revelation chapter 20, that dragon hasn't been dealt with yet. But when we get into this chapter, the dragon is going to be dealt with. We see in Revelation chapter 20 and verse 1 that I saw an angel coming down from heaven, holding the key of the abyss and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold of the dragon, the serpent of old, who is the devil and Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years, and threw him into the abyss, and shut it and sealed it over him, so that he would not deceive the nations any longer, until the 1,000 years were completed. And after these things, he must be released for a short time. We had talked a bit about the fact that a lot of error in the religious world concerning final things come from this chapter, especially things concerning the 1,000 years. People, when they look at the book of Revelation and they read this, they look at 1,000 years and view these things as a literal 1,000 years. But again, within its context, we're looking at figurative things. We are not looking at a literal 1,000 years. And we talked about this a bit a couple of years ago, or a couple of weeks ago. What is the 1,000 years? Is it a literal set 1,000-year period of time? Then what is it? And what is it? It's a complete period of time. Remember we talked about numbers of what they're representative of, and we've talked about multiples of these numbers, multiples and multiples of number of 10. In this case, 1,000 is a complete set period of time. But the point is it forever? Is it forever? So what has happened to Satan? He has been bound, right? So what does this mean concerning the devil? If the devil is chained up and he is bound, Deborah?
I have a question.
Yes.
1,000 years. I mean, if 10 is a perfect number, he could have said 10 years. But does this mean that it's just a longer period of time than that complete time was 10 because it's a bigger number?
It could be. It could be. The thing of it is, we don't know exactly, how long it is, but we do know this: it is a set period of time, a complete period that God has predetermined. And so the devil he is going to be bound up. He is going to be chained, restricted for a set period of time, for a complete period of time. Restricted from doing what? You're exactly right. You're exactly right. Is the devil's ability to deceive the nations going to be affected if he is bound and chained up? Yeah. So So for a period of time, what is this telling these Christians after the beast and the false prophet? They are gone. They're gone. They are not coming back. That's the point. But concerning the devil and what he is going to do to the nations, is it going to be the same for him? No. Is he coming back? Is he coming back after this set period of time? He is going to come back, and we're going to read about that in just a moment. But if the devil is bound up, the beast and the false prophet are gone. The overarching point for these first century Christians is there is going to be a time when the persecution is going to cease. But it's not going to last forever. He goes on in verse 4, and this is where it gets a little difficult. So we've got to pay close attention to these verses. Then I saw thrones, and they sat on them, and judgment was given to them. And I saw the souls of those who had been beheaded because of their testimony of Jesus and because of the word of God, and those who had not worshipped the beast or his image, and had not received the mark on their forehead and on their hand, and they came to life and reigned with Christ for 1,000 years. These people that reigned with Christ for 1,000 years. Who lived and reigned with Christ for 1,000 years? What's that? The saints. All saints?
All those that were persecuted.
Yes. Is it all saints that are persecuted?
Different degrees.
Huh?
Different degrees.
How about this? These are the ones that had been beheaded. They had not worshipped the beast or his image and had not received the mark on their forehead, on their hand. Okay, so for those that preach a doctrine of premillennialism, that premillennialism is something that is going to happen in our future. Which Christians is it talking about here in this in verse 4? Yes, the saint. You're exactly right. The saints that were persecuted during that time. It was during that time. Those that had not worshipped the beast or his image. And how do we know that this is not talking about Christians in our future? What do we know about the beast? The beast is gone. The beast is gone. This is talking about these first century Christians. That's the subject matter in verse 4. Those that had not worshipped the beast or his image, and they came to life and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. And let's read a couple of verses on, and we'll jump back to verse 4. And here's where things get a little confusing. He said, the rest of the dead did not come to life until the 1,000 years were completed. This is the first resurrection. Blessed and holy is the one who has a part in the first resurrection. Over these, the second death has no power, but they will be priests of God and of Christ and will reign with him for 1,000 years. Okay, so those that had not worshipped the beast or his image, that they didn't receive the mark on their forehead or on their hand, what happened to them? They came to life, didn't they? The Bible says that they came to life. The Bible says that that they took part in a resurrection. What does resurrection mean? Yeah, coming from being dead to being alive. The Bible also talks about a first resurrection. What does that imply? Yeah, or there's at least more than one. Okay, so the Christians who had not taken part in the idolatry of the first and second beast, the ones that were persecuted because of their testimony of Jesus Christ. What happened to them in the sense that they were resurrected? What resurrection do you think that this is talking about? What could it possibly be talking about? What could it possibly be talking about? We were talking about a resurrection. How about 1 Thessalonians chapter 4? What does it talk about? The dead being raised up, being raised up, and all of those who are left alive, will be caught up with them. We're talking about the resurrection, the final resurrection. Do you think that this is talking about the final resurrection? During the final resurrection, is there going to be different periods, different stages of resurrection, or is everybody going to be resurrected all at once? Is this going to happen all at once? Okay, so there's a first resurrection, and of course resurrection after that. I believe what is being talked about here is this resurrection is these Christians pulling through persecution. They're being resurrected from persecution. What is the point of this book? What is the point of this book? To give Christians a sense of comfort, knowing that the church is not going away. Is persecution and hard time coming to the church? Well, absolutely. But are they going to pull through? Yes, they're going to pull through. And these Christians, it said that they came to life and they reigned with Christ for 1,000 years. And as Christians, do we reign with Christ? Yes. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 11, I believe. We reign with Christ in the sense that we are in His kingdom. But the Christians who have overcome, they share in that first resurrection, and it's going to be important for Christians to share in the first resurrection because we can see from this chapter that those Christians that share in the first resurrection, they are not going to be affected by the second death. Sister James.
I'm looking for it, but I can't find it. You know how it goes. After I go home, I'll find it. In Daniel talks about a first resurrection.
Yes.
Is that pertain? Do you know where it is?
No.
Okay.
No, I remember seeing it, but I don't remember.
He talks about a first resurrection where those people, the first resurrection, they will get up and they will be resurrected. So I'm wondering if that is the same here, where he foretold it.
Okay, well, I'm not going to be able to make any comments about that, but I have made a note on that. That I will certainly look into that. But I think the point is that we're still talking about figurative language here. This is not talking about a literal resurrection. What this is talking about is a pulling through, is a coming back to life. What did it appear for the church? Consider the behavior of the kings and the men of nations. Did they think that they were going to make the church go away? That they could persecute the church to the point of not being in existence anymore? Well, absolutely. They thought that they could stand against God and win. They did not win. It was the church instead. That whenever people were looking at the church, saying the church is dead, the church is gone, the church is pulling through the resurrection. Because we see in verse 5, and this is where things get a little difficult. Verse 5 says, "The rest of the dead did not come to life until the 1,000 years were completed." This may be a difficult question. Who are the rest of the dead? Who are the rest of the dead? And I think that it would help us to understand who the rest of the dead are, taking it in context with verse 7. I don't remember the book of Revelation is not written in verses. Originally, we have verses, and it's great for us for reference, but sometimes it can cause a little bit of confusion. I think that verse 6 is tied to verse 4, and verse 5 is actually tied to verse 7. How long is Satan going to be bound? 1,000 years. And during this time, we see that those who had come through the first resurrection, they came to life and reigned with Christ for 1,000 years. But it says that the rest of the dead didn't come to life until 1,000 years were completed. In verse 7, it said when the 1,000 years are completed, Satan will be released from prison. Who are the rest of the dead? Non-Christians. You are exactly right. I believe you are exactly right when it's talking about that. Because we see in verse 7, when Satan is going to be released from prison, what is he going to attempt to do? That he's going to go right back to his old ways. He's going, Jesus says about Satan in John chapter 8, that Satan, by his nature, he is a liar. He's a liar. So if he is unbound, don't you think that he's going to go about doing the things of his nature? What the things that he does? So we have a period of time, a set period of time when Satan his power is going to be he's going to be grounded, so to speak. But it's not going to last forever. It says in verse 5, the rest of the dead didn't come to life until 1,000 years were ended. Okay, so if this resurrection, it's not talking about a literal resurrection. It's resurrection that is figurative. If the dead if the rest of the dead are the non-Christians, what's going to happen after the 1,000 years is completed? They're going to come back to life, and what do you think is going to happen again? Persecution. And that's the point. There's going to be a period of time when this great persecution that Christians are enduring during the first century is going to go away. But it's not going to last forever. But the overall persecution of God's people, that isn't going to last forever either. And this is the point, and giving these Christians some encouragement. The fact that they must remain faithful, even to the point of death, in order to inherit the crown of life. Because if they remain faithful, what are they going to take part in? What's that? The second resurrection, and the first resurrection. Because we see in verse 6, it said, blessed and holy is the one who has part in the first resurrection. This is why I think that verse 6 is actually tied to verse 4, whereas verse 5 is tied to verse 7. Blessed is the one who has part in the first resurrection. Over these, the second death has no power. But they will be priests of God and of Christ and will reign with him for 1,000 years. What is the second death? What is the second death?
Judgment, separation from God.
Yes, separation from God. Complete separation from God. In Revelation 2, verse 10, Jesus said to the church of Smyrna, he said, do not fear what you are about to suffer. Behold, the devil is about to cast some of you into prison so that you will be tested, and you will have tribulation for 10 days. Be faithful unto death, and I will give you the crown of life. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. He who overcomes will not be hurt by the second death. What we're going to talk about what this second death is as we're getting in further into this chapter. In verse 7, when the 1,000 years are completed, Satan will be released from his prison. What does that mean for the church? Persecution's coming back. Persecution's coming back. So it says in verse 8, and what is he going to do when he comes back? He will come out to deceive the nations, which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together for the war. The number of them is like the sand of the seashore. So Satan's coming back. These first century Christians, I know this. Persecution is going to go away. But Satan is going to come back. Are his tactics going to be the same? Yes and no. Yes and no. What was Satan's first tactic?
Oh, he was trying to kill the woman.
What's that? He was doing what?
He was trying to kill the woman and her baby.
Yes.
That was
Yes. And
the time he was introduced back.
yes. But as we move further into Revelation, what are the tactic? What tactic did he use? What did he use in order to persecute Christians? The beast and the false prophet. Beast and false prophet are gone. Okay. Satan, the devil, he's going to do what he normally does. In the sense, in that sense, he's going to use his same tactics. But it says that he is coming out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth. Gog and Magog. What is Gog and Magog? What is that?
Old Testament.
That's right. Here we go again with some Old Testament references. A long time ago, when I was first getting into Revelation, I would read passages like this, and I'd imagine, God, what does Gog and Magog sound like? Sounds like something off of Ghostbusters or something like that. Some sort of demons. That's not what it's talking about here. It said that Satan is going to come. He's going to come out and deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth. The devil used the beast. Now he's going to use what? The nations to the remotest parts of the earth. Now, what is Gog and Magog? This is probably going to be a reference from Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39. These are names that we can also read about in Genesis chapter 10. But in Ezekiel chapter 38, in verse 1, it says, "The word of the Lord came to me, saying, Son of man, set your face toward Gog of the land of Magog, the prince of Rosh, Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus says the Lord God, Behold, I am against you, O Gog, prince of Rosh, Meshech and Tubal. I will turn turn you about and put hooks into your jaws, and I will bring you out, and all your army, horses and horsemen, and all of them splendidly attired, a great company with buckler and shield, and all of them wielding swords, Persia, Ethiopia, and put with them, and all of them with shield and helmet, Gomer with all its troops, Beth Togarmah from the remotest parts of the north with all of its troops. Many people with you. In the next chapter, in chapter 39, it says, "And you, son of man, prophesy against Gog, and say, Thus says the Lord God, Behold, I am against you, O Gog, prince of Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal, and I will turn you around, drive on you, take you up from the remotest parts of the north, and bring you against the mountains of Israel. I will strike your bow from your left hand, and dash down your arrows from your right. You will fall on the mountains of Israel, and you and all your troops and the peoples who are with you, and I will give you as food to every kind of predatory bird and beast of the field. You will fall in the open field, for it is I who have spoken, declares the Lord. And I will send fire upon Magog and those who inhabit the coastlands in safety, and they will know that I am the Lord. My holy name I will make known in the midst of my people Israel, and I will not let my holy name be profaned anymore. And all the nations will know that I am the Lord, the Holy One in Israel." Okay, so we have Gog and Magog. Gog, the prince of Magog. Gog is a region, or Magog is a region, is a place. Gog is a person that rules in Magog. This is all this is saying is this is a place that is in a remote area. It's a remote place, and what is Gog of Magog set to do? To stand himself against God and his people, and is what's God going to do to Gog and Magog? Is he going to? Is God going to win? He is going to win. That's a point. You know, when we're back in Revelation chapter 20 in verse 8, it says that the devil, he will come out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth, in the remotest parts of the earth, Gog and Magog. In Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39, these were faraway places, remote places, and I believe that's what's being referenced here. That the devil, he's going to go out to the remote places and gather them together for the war. The number of them is like the sand of the seashore. But when these first century Christians, they see Gog and Magog, Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39. Who's going to win? Who's going to win? You know, we talked a lot about Babylon. The Bible the book of Revelation had much to say about Babylon and the judgment that God exercised on Babylon. Now we got Gog and Magog. Is it the same? Yeah. Gog and Magog, they're going to set themselves against the Lord, and the Lord is going to win. Okay. So in verse 9 it says that they came up on the broad plain of the earth and surrounded the camp of the saints and the beloved city, and fire came down from heaven and devoured them. And of course, when we look at Ezekiel chapter 39 and verse 6, the Lord said, I will send fire upon Magog and those who inhabit the coastlands in safety. So they came upon the broad plain of the earth and surrounded the camp of the saints and the beloved city, and fire came down from heaven and devoured them, and the devil who deceived them was thrown into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are also, and they will be tormented day and night forever and ever. Has this occurred yet? No. You know, in the book of Revelation, you know, we've been talking about things that are soon to come to pass. But as we're getting to the end of the book of Revelation, the end of the visions that John was given. Now, you know, we've talked about victory for the saints, victory over their persecutors. But there's going to be an ultimate victory now, an ultimate victory over the dragon, over the devil, an ultimate victory over death. What is going to happen to these Christians if they remain faithful faithful during these persecutions? What is going to happen to Christians of all time? Even after the 1,000 years that Satan is going to be released, and he is going to go to the remotest parts of the earth and pick up with his ways again in persecuting the church. What is ultimately going to happen to the dragon, and what is ultimately going to happen to the saints who remain faithful? These questions are going to be answered, as we're getting into this part of the book that is now going to talk about the ultimate victory of the saints. Sister James.
My little brain just made a connection. When we're talking about the devil being thrown into the lake of fire and sulfur,
Yes.
Where the beast and false prophet are, that's permanent. And
That's
so
permanent.
When we
Yes.
go to 19 and we see that the beast and the false prophet,
Yeah.
they were thrown into the lake of fire that's permanent.
That is permanent. Yes.
And in 1921, it says, but the rest was slain by the sword that came from the mouth of God. And so a few weeks ago, I was asking, what was the difference? Why are they thrown into the lake of fire, and why are these people thrown with the sword? And so I see that connection now. The lake of fire is permanent.
Yes.
And the beast will be thrown in there, and that's permanent.
Yes. But those who aren't Christians, and I believe when we look at verse 5, that's exactly what it's talking about. We're talking about things that are going away permanently for permanent destruction. That the non-Christians are coming back. They're coming back. It said that the devil, again, verse 10, who was deceived, was thrown into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are also, and they will be tormented day and night for forever and ever. I heard somebody talk about seeing a comic strip or something like that, where one politician said about another politician, there's a certain place in hell for so and so, and then the next scene on the comic strip said it was the devil saying, hey, I'm the one who doles out the special places in hell. Is that true? No, because the devil, he is the one that's going to be taking part. He's going to be taking part in hell. We get this idea that the devil is the ruler of hell. I don't know where this idea originates from, but when it comes to hell, you look at passages like from Matthew chapter 25, that the unrighteous will go to the place that is reserved for the devil and his angels. That is hell. That's hell. The devil doesn't rule hell. The devil's going to be in hell, taking part in the suffering, taking part in the eternal destruction. But the point is, in verse 9, that this hasn't happened yet. It's going to be a kind of a transition period. Brother Adam?
Before we move on to this transition, I do want to point out, when we're talking about ruling and these ideas, how people come up with these ideas. When we're talking about premillennialism and all of the doctrine surrounding end times and this idea of a 1,000-year kingdom or 1,000-year reign with Jesus reigning for 1,000 years, we hear a lot of these sort of things, and this is where this is the proof text that these premillennials will go to and say, see, right here, 1,000 years, they're pointing to 1,000 years. when you read all of these this text here, nowhere in the text does it say that Jesus is reigning for 1,000 years. There's not a single place where it says Jesus is reigning for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
It's saying it's talking about the saints
That's a good point.
who are reigning with Christ. And there's nowhere in the text that talks about Jesus reigning for 1,000 years.
That's a really good point. And another point that just came to mind is, where do you see in this text that Jesus is going to come and reign on this earth for 1,000 years? Where's that text? There is not one verse in the whole of the Bible that says that Jesus is going to come back again and set one toe on this earth. There just simply isn't. In order to keep with premillennial doctrine, those assumptions are made, but you cannot find that in the Scriptures. You just simply can't. But good point. That's a very good point. I'm hoping that we keep these things in mind. I don't know if any of us will have a chance to talk to folks in the denominational world about end time things and 1,000-year reign things and all that. But I'm hoping that the study in the Book of Revelation will help us to get some understanding of what this 1,000 years really is and what it's talking about. Who these people are that's being discussed. Because if we can understand who these people are that are being discussed, we can know who they're not. And this will really help us with these things. Let's see, it's 10 after. Why don't we go ahead and close there? Lord willing, next week there's just a few more verses left in chapter 20. When we talk about final judgment things, there's a whole lot of other passages that we have read previously in the Book of Revelation that on the surface, seems like it sounds like it's talking about final judgment things, but through study we can find out that it's not. But now as we are going to see everybody, both great and small, standing before the Lord in judgment. This now we're going to be talking about final judgment things. Okay, thank you for your attention. Like I said, we'll pick back up and wrap up Revelation chapter 20 next week.